Hey, it's me again, Kong Bang. I think the last time you guys saw this ugly face was what? 2013? Yeah, about that. So a lot has changed since then. For those of you who didn't know, I was a pre-medical student in college. And after years of struggling and almost giving up on my dreams, I got accepted into medical school. And so that's why I decided to come back into a spotlight. I want to use this video and future videos to talk about my story and help those of you interested in medicine achieve your dreams of becoming a doctor. Instead of the silly comedy skits you're used to seeing from me, I want to start using my platform to essentially be a virtual mentor for underrepresented students. So if you're interested in becoming a doctor or just want to learn more about the pre-medical journey, this is perfect for you. So for a while now, it's been a goal of mine to become a doctor and serve my community. The thing was, I had this really big dream, but I absolutely had no idea how to achieve it. Cue story time.
You see, I guess you could say growing up I was a pretty good student, but math and science were not my favorite subjects. I wasn't necessarily bad at them, I just found them kind of boring. That all changed when I took AP Biology my senior year in high school. Learning about the body and how different organs function was really fascinating to me, and I enjoyed the challenge that came along with it. I literally was mind blown every single class, and so the career that made most sense to me back then was to become a doctor. Plus, it was one of the only 3 careers my parents would allow me to pursue. So when I graduated high school and went to college, I thought I just needed to do 4 years after university and become a doctor. Little did I know college was just the first step. I soon found out that to become a doctor, you had to take pre-medical courses in undergrad, apply to medical school, graduate from medical school, and then complete your residency before you can even become a full-fledged practicing physician. That's like 10 plus years of schooling and training. I absolutely had no idea you had to do all of this. You see, as a second generation Hmong American, growing up, I didn't have any doctors in my family to look up to or ask questions about how to become a doctor, so I essentially had to learn everything on my own once I got to college. But with the help of my advisors and friends, I was able to quickly learn what it took to be a competitive applicant for medical school. Throughout college, I maintained a competitive GPA, volunteered at hospitals and did internships, coached flag football, got really good letters of recommendations, and overall was a pretty well-rounded person. But there was one thing that I knew I would struggle with, and that was the MCAT. The MCAT's a standardized test most students need to take in order to get into med school, and I had never been a good standardized test taker. I think I only got like a 23 on the ACT. When I first started studying for the MCAT, I thought I had a pretty good grasp of the material, but when I took a practice test and saw how poorly I did, my dreams of becoming a doctor seemed impossible. My score was so low that I was embarrassed to seek out any help because I thought I was too dumb to help. This led me to isolate myself and study on my own, all the while my parents and advisors thought I was doing completely fine. So when it came time to take the actual test, I still had my doubts about how I'd do, but I was encouraged by my parents to take it so I could apply to medical school that year. My dad even burned incense and prayed to my ancestors to help me, but I knew that it would take a miracle for me to do well. A month later, I got my results back only to confirm my doubts. I scored in the 22nd percentile. This was an extremely low score that no respectable medical school would even consider. Although I was pretty bummed about my score, I knew I had to take it again before the test changed later that year. So I scheduled another test and continued studying without changing my study strategies. To no surprise, when I got my results back the second time, I got another bad score. This time, I scored in the 32nd percentile. Bombing the MCAT for a second time really sucked because it felt like I had let everyone down. My mentors, my parents, my community, and most importantly, myself. The burden was just so heavy that I froze. Here I was, newly graduated from college, and I absolutely had no idea what to do with my life. I was in a really dark place during this time. I would watch friends and people I know get into medical school, and I would compare myself to them. I would say things like, hey, I worked harder than they did, how did they get and I didn't? Or, they don't deserve it as much as I do. This social pressure turned me into a very bad version of myself. Every time someone asked me about medical school, I would tune out or quickly change the subject because it was embarrassing to talk about my failures. I had no motivation, no direction, and barely had any hope left to become a doctor. After about a year of this depression and self-pity, a voice inside my head told me I needed to get back on my feet. I needed to move forward again. Public health was always something I wanted to do, so I applied to the Masters of Public Health program at my state university and moved away from home. I knew I needed a new environment and a fresh start, and graduate school gave me just that. It rekindled my love for learning as I developed a new work ethic and sense of independence. That whole summer after my first year of graduate school, I committed myself to studying for the new MCAT and made drastic changes to my study habits. I limited my distractions and locked myself in the library, studying for 8 hours almost every day. I also gave up one thing I loved the most, coaching flag football, and I told myself, work hard now, play hard later. And little by little, I saw my practice scores improve. By test day, I was close to my ideal score. The night before my test, I couldn't sleep at all because I knew this was probably going to be the last time I'd be taking it. Sleep deprived and anxious, I went into the exam and gave it my all for 7 long hours. I left the testing center feeling defeated. But a month later when the results came back, I met my goal. In fact, I actually surpassed it by 2 points and I could not believe it. In total, it took me over 3 years to overcome this hurdle. I don't think I would be the same person today had I not experienced this low point in my life. But through deep introspection, grit, and a little bit of faith, I was able to pull through. So long story short, the following months were a frenzy trying to put together my medical school application and submit it. I interviewed at 4 schools, was accepted with 3, and waitlisted at 1. I'm 26 now and will be starting med school in a few days. But I hope my story of perseverance can serve as inspiration for those of you who think you're not good enough to become a doctor. It's cliche to say, but as long as you really want it, nothing can stop you. Just know that it's not a matter of if, but just a matter of when.